Hello and welcome to Banking Frontiers Live, to this wonderful conversation once again in the area of uh, technology, innovation and operations. With me today, I have honorable guest who is a luminary from the field of operations and has been working with one of the leading payment banks in India, inviting Mr. Ashish Ahuja, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Fino Payments Bank. Ashish, welcome to Banking Frontiers Live.
Thank you so much, Babu, and it's a pleasure being on the show with you. Thank you so much.
Ashish, we have seen a lot of interesting things happening in the last few months. We have seen a very good, huge global fintech innovations conclave happening, a lot of innovations being launched in the country and things like that. In midst of all this, we are having this conversation with you. You have yourself showed some wonderful numbers in your profitability with doubling your profitability in last quarter. So there has been a lot of contribution to it. If you can highlight something around how this wonderful achievement has been achieved and what has been the most significant contributor to this.
Absolutely, Babu. And like they say, numbers speak for themselves, but behind the number, there's always a story. And, that's what I'll try and bring out over here. And if I look at it from, Fino Payment Bank's point of view, we started the bank and we decided that we will build this on three pillars. And we call it the DTP is the business model, which is distribution, technology, and partnerships. So these are three pillars on which we've been, building the bank, and this is what has really paid us dividends. And if you look at it, last year we crossed 1,000 crore mark in terms of revenue top line. That was a big one for us. PAT practically doubled to over 40 crores. Another big one for us. Now, what are the major ones that we got right or we're doing that? So it's the ownership story. We, I would say, are adding broadly in the range of about 2.5 lakh CASA accounts on a monthly basis. So the footfalls that come in through our transaction business, which is also broadly contributing about 55 to 60% in terms of micro ATM, APS, and DMT, those footfalls are the ones we try to convert into our own account holders and then digitize them by bringing them onto our mobile banking platform, which is going to be the Fino 2.0 story, right? And this is what is one of the big ones where CASA has, really driven the ownership part for us. The other big one is payment services, where we do cash burial activities for a number of NBFCs, over 160, clients, over about 200, close to 200 modules, where we are doing cash burial in rural. So anybody whose core is to collect cash from their customers, but needs to interact more with customers, can quickly get rid of the cash, and we'll take care of that side. You concentrate on the core business. So these are two verticals which have really grown for us.
There have been a lot of innovations also you have been working around. Okay, especially payment is a space where innovations are happening left, right, and center. There are a lot of internal innovations. There are a lot of external innovations happening. From your perspective, what are some of those key innovations which have mattered or accelerated your businesses?
So if I look at it, when we set up the bank, we said the first thing that you need to reply for yourself is that in a crowded space like banking, right, and with Jan Dhan Yojana and the PMJDY drives going on, what is it that we need to create a niche for ourselves? So we went back to the customer, conducted a lot of surveys, interviews, and understood the pain points. And if you look at our account opening process, that is exactly, or I would say, look at any of our processes. From a customer standpoint, there is not a single piece of paper or a signature in any of the transactions that we do. 100% digital from the time the customer touches my phygital point, which is my merchant partner's point, right? So that's one side of the bank. The other side naturally is we are driving the mobile banking application and a self-service, kind of add this thing with the customers, so that the customer, when he migrates to self-serve, the mobile banking application can take care of all the needs. Going back to the innovation side of it, over-the-counter account opening in less than 5 minutes with an over-the-counter debit card and green pin generation.
Interesting. And recently, the NPCI has launched this UPI transfer, UPI-based contactless cards, and also they have done this feature phone based payments and Bharat Bill, BBPS based bill payments from international locations and things like that. Have these also added on to your portfolios as of now?
I would say NPCI is one of those organizations which is very, very forward looking. And, some of the products that they come out with can really, can be game changers. And I think UPI, as we can see through the numbers, is something that is really helping the environment move forward from a digital perspective. I think India leaves developed countries far behind when it comes to from a payment space. Having said that, some of the new stuff that's coming on, especially we focus on stuff which is more pertinent to my own customer base. And we are now going to be starting our pilots on the feature phone side to adapt that so that we can take UPI to the next level. UPI as part of the overall cash throughput that we do on a monthly basis has already started reaching up to 15% of our cash throughput, and that too within our customer base. So that's a very healthy sign for us. And all the other ones, which is BBPS innovations, or I would say on the UPI side, we are going to be figuring out the use cases that apply to us and take those forward from there.
So how do you work with your innovations team? What is the procedure? How do you enroll and engage with these innovators and fintechs? Because fintechs are growing in leaps and bounds and they're adding a lot of value to the banks per se. What is the process in which you engage with the fintechs?
So let me put it this way. We kind of bucketize it, and we have an alliances team. The alliances team is responsible for engaging with the external world. Looking at relevant partnerships. Either we look at people who or companies which have large distribution setups, or we look at companies which have good products which can be brought in and are relevant to our customer base onto our large distribution setup. We already have about close to a million plus, I would say 1.1 million plus merchant points today. And that's a rather large distribution setup, which is prevalent in 94% of the districts, 92% of the pin codes, and going deeper. So in that sense, this is the philosophy of the Tribuna. In terms of teams, we have a full digital team headed by a chief digital officer who looks at digital engagements. In that sense, we are already now very soon going to be launching our digital platform where digital fintechs can latch on and open accounts for their customers in partnership with Fino Payments Bank. So that's a platform that we're building. On the payment services side, we already have a cash portal which has broadly in the range of about 150 plus partners and close to about 200 modules which are there. On our other products, which are domestic money transfers, micro ATM, and APS, we have over 60 partners and doing approximately in the range of about 6,000 crores of throughput on a monthly basis. On the payment services side, we're doing a throughput of approximately, I would say, about 3,500 crores on a monthly basis. So that's how these innovations are really helping us. There is the digital team, which look at digital partnerships. There's the alliances team, which is responsible for bringing in the partners. And behind that, there is the product and technology team, which looks at the implementation and making sure that the risks, the legality, the compliances are all followed, and the product is rolled out in a very seamless manner. As also, there is a digital marketing team, which looks at the marketing and the go-to-market along with the products team to make sure that the product is successful, the messaging or the communication of that product to the desired segment reaches out in the fashion, in the languages, on the channels that we wanted to reach out.
Interesting. In fact, catching the people young and the young generation is definitely one of the most important need for any of the financial sector organizations, and developing that culture of getting into banking financial services at this age, at the young age, to take them to the newer realms of possibilities when they grow, bigger and are in a financial capability to become big, larger customer base for you.
Adding on to that, this is a good one you raised. Catch them young and watch them grow. So today, out of the account base on the subscription side, which is about close to 80% plus of the account that we open are subscription-based accounts, out of that 17%, close to 17% of our accounts are, our children who are below the age of 18. So we call them the Bhavishya account. And in that recently, what we've done is that we brought in a process where you become from a minor to a major. We will, through facial recognition, do your re-KYC so that you don't need to revisit our branches. So that's the kind of innovation we think of, and it is
Wow.
across the spectrum, not only for the I would say the adult account holders, but also for children, which we believe are not only the future of the country, but also the future for banking and for banks like us.
So how have you been looking at these bottlenecks when engaging with the fintechs, be it in the area of risk or be it in the area of domain, be it in the area of technology or each of these areas? What is your thought on this? How do you work around it?
Fintech is the key buzzword these days, but you very rightly pointed out that when it what goes into that partnership, and if the base is solid, the partnership is built up well. And thankfully, when I speak on behalf of Fino, I would say the numbers speak for itself on our the partnership that we have built on the platform that we have, which I just told you, on the payment services side or on the API side for domestic money transfers, APS, micro ATMs. So what we basically do, what I would say is the process is to ensure that when you're designing the product, the risk aspect is inbuilt into it. So the product team is not only responsible for ensuring that you have a business case or a P&L built around the product that you launch, but also as a culture ingrained with the fact that the compliance to circulars released by the Reserve Bank of India plus the risk factors are kept in mind. First aspect. Secondly, the second and third layer of defense, we have a very strong risk mitigation team. We have a risk unit or a risk containment unit and an AML team, which we have integrated systems where data flows in, and we can get to know within a certain tats or on the fly for certain of our transactions that if these are going beyond the thresholds or are touching boundaries which we are not comfortable with, right? So just to give you examples, like if we see transactions at very odd hours and we see spikes in transactions, that is always a good sign when it comes to a business. But for us, it is also a cause of concern that why is this spike, and that why is more important than the business spike, right? Business number will come in any which way if you have the correct process and a good product. But if it is happening at hours or it happening at timings and spikes are happening which are not natural, then those need to be looked at. And that is where the analytics and the integration of various risk-based systems and AML systems tells us on which direction are we going. So that's one side of it. Second aspect is that while building the product, we ensure that the velocity parameters or the rules and regulations laid down for that product under the regulations of the Reserve Bank are followed to the T, and the system, and it is all a system control based this thing, and hence the chances of a mishap happening are very, very less. And naturally, a very strong mechanism. While onboarding partners, we ensure that the partner is also aligned to this philosophy. And if the partnership is not aligned to that philosophy, then we'd rather forego that than bring in a partner who would not align to a philosophy of a healthy growth by keeping the risk matrices in place.
According to you, which are most interesting channels where there is maximum traction, and which are the channels where you actually see a lot of work that can be done in growing more customer base, attracting new customer bases into the banks these days?
Ours is the dominant channel today is the merchant based channel, which is a phygital channel. Customer touch is based over there, and thereafter the entire flow is 100% digital for this thing. Along with that, we have a mobile banking application, right? And that's where the digital aspect comes in. And that's going to be the story for Fino 2.0. So we will have I would say it's an omni-channel experience that we give to the customer across all the channels that the bank has. And one of the big focus areas for the bank is to grow the digital base of customers in the coming years. And in that respect, we've set up a full digital team headed by a chief digital officer. And we are looking at innovations and partnerships with fintechs on that side too. As I mentioned earlier, we are now building a platform for fintechs to hook in so that a digital account can be open very shortly. We should be launching a saving bank account, a digital saving bank account for our customers, again on the self-serve side. And if you look at it from a marketing perspective, you would see Pankaj Tripathi is a brand ambassador for us who resonates with the set of customers that we serve. with our mass market this thing. And the entire drive is again an omni-channel experience on the marketing side, where we use social media to a large extent. We also use physical marketing attributes at our various outlets, and the branding at BPCL points, which is the strategic partner and investor in field.
And any of these interesting new age technologies, say you are talking about AI, you are talking about blockchains, you are talking about many other things. Which of these things are much more appealing to you, especially in this current stack of innovations that you are looking at today?
So the way I look at it is, one, from an AI perspective, I think we have a very, very strong analytics team internally, which we invested into right at the beginning of setting up the bank. And I would say all decision making from a perspective of our sales and our bringing in new features, new products, is all decision making is based on analytics. We do a lot of machine learning and internal AI work to predict what is going to be the next best thing, let's say for a customer from a product perspective. We look at analytics and AI enabled to predict as to what has to be pitched and what is going to be the next behavior pattern of the customer and the merchant. So let's say there is a predictive analysis that is carried out that these set of merchants are going to drop out because of certain reasons. Then there is the win back team which calls up these merchants to understand their problem and then try and bring it back. So these machine learning and AI models that we built have really worked well for us. And as you know, all machine learning and AI models mature as you keep building more and more onto it. So every time you run that model, it will become more mature and it will give you a higher degree of predictability. And that's something that we strongly believe in, and driving in that direction from a decision making and GTM for most of our for all our products when we go live, and for our sales and distribution team. Along with that, we work with companies like Latlong to see the distribution of our distribution setup on the field, identify white areas, and then kind of try and cover them up. So from a geospatial point of view, you can see on a map where all you are embedded today and what are the areas you probably left out, and then target those or move in those directions.
The vision, especially in the next 4 or 5 years to come, especially in terms of what industry segments and what geographies would be the focus of growth and expansion, and what new kind of services you think we can expect to see in the future?
So I would say that, like I mentioned earlier, the story for us is going to be the ownership story. We shall continue to acquire more and more customers, and that rate is only going to go better and better from where we stand, because we see that more you own the customer, the better is the traction with the customer. The second aspect that the bank is going to move forward is, which I mentioned, the digital story, which is the Fino 2.0, where you will see a lot of digital innovation and coming in, and more of self-acquiring of customers, which will keep coming in with times to come. So those are the two pillars that will naturally, partnership and technology will continue to be the two other strong pillars that we will maintain or take the bank forward on. In terms of products, I would say, that if you see, we've just launched our internal this thing on IR, international remittances, which is MTSS. So that's one this thing. We've got permissions for mutual fund. We're going to be going live with mutual funds in the coming 2 quarters. We'll go live with a fixed deposit product. We should be launching our platform for fintechs to plug in for account opening very shortly. We should be looking at certain features on UPI that kind of work for us, which we discussed earlier, and that's we want to build it up for our customer base, and a digital self account opening process, a fully digital account for the customer, where he doesn't even have to touch base. So these are some of the ones that are coming in the near future, and naturally, with the innovation going on, and we were going to be keep looking at what's happening in the environment and what new things that we can bring in. Cross-sell is going to be one of the major focus areas for the bank, where we are not the owners of the product. We are looking at building up a lending. We started our pilots on the lending side with some NBFCs, which are showing us, initial good results, and we're going to be building on that side. We already have a very mature gold loan product, which we do. We're getting into multiple partnerships on that side. and hence, plus bringing in a few more payment products, which are going to be more B2B focus products to serve the SME segment or in the industry at large.
Thank you very much, Ashish, for this wonderful conversation. We look forward to more such interesting conversations with you in the future. And till then, we would like to take your leave and wish you all the best for the next line of innovation stack that you are going to get into the financial sector. Thank you
Thank you
so
so much,
much.
Babu. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And thank you so much for having me represent Fino Payments Bank's story and point of view on your show. Thank you so much.